Hey everybody, welcome back to the Matt Report. As always, your host Matt, finally joined by my good buddy Ben. I've seen Ben at 5,000 WordCamps across the country, and every time he came up to me, he was like, dude, we got to do an interview. I got this awesome stuff that I'm working on. I've got 5,000 employees spread across the planet. We're doing some fun stuff. You have to have me on. Please, please, please have me on. So finally today, Ben Fox, co-founder of FlowPress, and recently announced Sidekick Pro. Ben, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Matt.
So you are probably the closest related to myself. You're like a doppelganger of me, if you're so lucky to be donned that kind of that kind of title. But you're running an agency. You're building product. Give folks the 2-minute elevator pitch: who you are and what you do.
Sure. So we are like you said, we have an agency and a product. We're based out of the Ryerson Digital Media Zone in downtown Toronto, Canada. We're very lucky to be here. It's an incubator, about 70 startups, all tech-based. Great environment. Sidekick, Sidekick.pro is a guided, interactive support and onboarding tool for basically anything web-based. We're of course starting with native WordPress integration because WordPress is what we know and love. We are 100% bootstrapped, which is something we're very proud of, and we've managed that by having a services agency that we call FlowPress, which literally stands for the love of WordPress. We don't have a website. We've been around 2 years. We just haven't had time. We're like the shoemaker without shoes. But we've got a great list of clients that we're very much like the Jerry Maguire, fewer clients, more time per client. It works out for everybody better that way, and we've managed to sync to become profitable quickly, which is something we're very proud of, and then of course turn around and sync those profits into hiring awesome developers and getting Sidekick off the ground.
Yeah. One of the other products that you have, WP University, and we sort of talked earlier in the show and in your pre-interview, is that another product that sort of just, I don't want to say failed, but it was just something that lacked the ability for you to focus on, or there's just not a great opportunity there like you saw when you started building Sidekick?
Yeah, so that certainly hasn't failed, and the WP University, WPUniversity.com is something we're actually very proud of. It's just we had to choose a focus, and originally Sidekick was called WP University, and then we realized that we had something greater than if you can imagine, greater than just the WordPress community, and so we split it out. And WP University became our free, how-to WordPress blog, where we focused on, not quite the quick snippets that you get at like WP Beginner. We wanted more in-depth learning, and we just haven't had a chance to build it out like we want to. So it's there. We've put some money and time into it, and we have, we have to focus, right? So we're focused down on Sidekick.
I totally understand that. Running an agency and trying to build a product is challenging.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Fun.
So, at what point did while you were running your agency, how have you been sort of managing the time, client time, building time, either and sales time to find new clients to fund these products? Like, how do you figure all that stuff out?
I think it was at WordCamp Miami. Someone asked on the business panel, asked why or how do you find work-life balance in doing everything, and someone got up and said, it doesn't exist. It's just, when you're an entrepreneur, you give up. My favorite saying is, entrepreneur is someone that will work for 3 years like no one will, so they can live the rest of their life like no one can. And I think that's the goal. So there is no balance. This weekend was a long weekend here in Canada, and I had all of a sudden we were lucky enough to be featured on producthunt.com, and I woke up to 400 emails while on vacation, and very lucky to have a very understanding wife who said, do what you need to do, and let's get this, let's get this product up and running. As far as managing our time, I'm central switching for business, project management, and sales and marketing. So I handle all of that so that my CTO Bart and his 2 engineers can focus just on building Sidekick. We have one WordPress engineer who just builds our WordPress products. We have a couple of contractors as well, local but contracted, and then we've got Andy McIlwain, who's head of the Toronto WordPress group, who works on communications and our WordPress core module and WordPress learning. So we're a small team, we're nimble, and we work incredibly hard. I mean, there's no magic pill.
What's the way that you sort of came about the Sidekick concept, even before it was known as Sidekick? Were you taking bits and pieces of client services stuff that you were doing, sort of taking that residual and building that product that way, or was this something that just came out of left field? You're like, hey, I think we should really explore this.
So my business partner and I both worked out of something called the Center for Social Innovation, which was it's another small incubator in Toronto, and they have 2 offices, and we both had desks there, and we were both WordPress developers. You know, he's more of the technical side, I was more of the business side, and we were both searching, as it turned out, both searching for each other. We had one night we were chatting, and we were getting frustrated, a mutual frustration over why don't clients ever read the stuff we send them? Why don't they ever watch the videos we send them? Why don't they buy the Matt Report premium, membership and leave us alone? And not in a way that we don't want our clients to lead us. And by the way, this is before we figured out the whole SLA thing. We should all be doing SLAs, but that's another story. And Bart said it would be awesome if I could just plug my brain into a client's computer, download it, and just walk away. And I just sort of looked at him and said, well, can you build that? And he said, I don't know, let's try. And that's really the basis of this, is to put a WordPress expert directly into your WordPress dashboard and have that expert walk you through step by step. So at the end of each walkthrough, you've actually completed your task. There's no leaving your flow. There's no watching a video and coming back. It's do it and learn it as you go. And Bart and I took the unusual step of only knowing each other 3 months before we became partners and invested together in this business, and it's worked out.
I want to know more about that before we move on to more technical stuff in the interview. What was that like? I've been in situations where partnerships have been really great, but then I've also seen the really bad stuff of partnerships, especially 3-way partnerships without somebody to balance off and be that silent voice. What about you? Was it just a handshake, or did you actually go right to contract? What was that like?
We started slowly, having been through, myself and Bart having both been through sort of partnerships that didn't work and deals that didn't work. We were both cautious. So we had a handshake deal. We said, it came down to we were working slowly on it and working a little bit more on it and a little more. We got a proof of concept done. And finally I said, if I put in this application to the Ryerson Digital Media Zone and I get us in, do you agree to come and join me? And he said, yep, but I need to be a 50. And I said, that's a no-brainer. And we got in, and I wrote a 30-page business plan that we immediately threw in the garbage. But but that's what they require, right? They just wanted to see you some thinking. And then we went to a lawyer and we paid. We knew, having been through both being through bad partnerships in the past, it was worth the $1,500 to incorporate and get the shareholders agreement and really just put a box around the whole thing. And from there, so that it was official, and then from there, it took some time before Bart agreed to finally fold his web development agency and into what is now FlowPress, and I agreed to fold mine. But we were very much more comfortable with things that are on paper. But I think now, we just become such good friends that it's worked out.
What remind me about what the program is that you're in? Is it like an incubator? Is it like it's a non-funded incubator, right? You're just in there with other smart people getting great advice from other people.
Yeah, so the Ryerson Digital Media Zone has really grown up, and that's a whole other story. And I encourage anybody who, especially if you're in Toronto or Southern Ontario, to check it out. But anyone should take a look. The Digital Media Zone itself is just an incubator, so you get desk space and you get a receptionist and internet, and they take care of you, and you get free rent for 4 months. But what we got into was called RFI, which is the Ryerson Futures Inc., and they're actually an accelerator program that offers funding. We are the only RFI company to not ever take funding, and we didn't give up a percentage of the company. We kept it all to ourselves, and we were very lucky. I find the harder we work, the luckier we get. In that, around the time that they had offered us some funding, we landed a bank who basically paid us the same as the funding would have been, and we didn't have to give anything up except time. So you can get funding. It's a great program. The advisors, especially in RFI, are phenomenal. The space is great. We're right at Yonge and Dundas, which is like the Times Square of Toronto. So the subway's right under us, and it's been hugely helpful. But no, we didn't take any funding, and still managed to get quite a bit out of it.
What part of it is hugely helpful? Is it the executive team that you get introduced to, or is it working alongside other startups, or is it just because you guys have to report to an office every day and not just a coffee shop?
It's all of those things plus. So once a month we're responsible. We meet with our own peer group, or an assigned peer group, and we have to report to each other. So all the CEOs from there's 6 CEOs in my peer group, and we're responsible to each other for hitting metrics. And telling each other what's going on. I've got advisors, guys who used to work, were VPs at Accenture, as an example, or others who I can just sort of knock on their door, walk into their office, and say, "Hey, WP Engine just called. What do we do?" And that's been a huge help. The office, definitely having somewhere to go every day is a big deal. Having to put pants on really makes it. They frown on not wearing pants. And being surrounded by some incredibly smart people. I mean, I've learned there are so many awesome startups here and ideas, and just being able to walk over to another CEO, excuse me, and say, "Hey, I heard you got funded," or "We're having this issue with an enterprise client. How would you handle it?" And they can draw on their experience. It's something you don't get when you've got your own basement office somewhere.
What kind of advice do they offer you when a WP Engine does come a knocking? Is some folks might be like, okay, WP Engine, one of the biggest managed WordPress hosts, X amount of clients, that's probably $5 a client, so they should charge. So we should charge them $78,000 a month.
Yeah, something like that.
What did they tell you? Did they just say, you know what, do it for the exposure, or charge so you aren't, so you are making some revenue off of them?
The pricing is obviously a very complicated thing, and the advice we got, which was great, was one, go slowly and figure out everybody's needs and make sure there's value, but also make sure you charge. Don't give it away. Don't ever give it away. Our advisors gave us the advice. Chris Lemma being one of the advisors that gave us his advice is there's a lot of value in Sidekick, and anyone who sees that, the clients you want are the clients that see that, and we were very lucky with. Particularly in WP Engine's case, they're very big on investing in the WordPress community and in their user experience, and they recognize Sidekick as something that will help both. So they agreed. They're a paid client, and we're very proud of that. Certainly, you want to make sure that your very first clients are getting some benefit of being, that hey, they're first, they're taking a risk, and there's something built into the price on that. But yeah, you need to charge. Giving it away for free, anyone will take anything for free, but if you really want them to commit, charge them.
In terms of this, we'll dive into sort of the strategy of that real quick for folks who are listening who are launching a product. In fact, I'm launching a new product at my company. It's a plugin. It's our first sort of official commercial plugin. And you're doing sort of this on your plans and pricing page. You don't see the plan or price, but you have the beta sign up, right?
Yeah.
Is that part of that go slow but go fast strategy, and also sort of the exclusivity of getting in early, where you can sort of talk to people and onboard them sort of more one-on-one? Is that the strategy behind this?
Go slowly as fast as you can. I love that. We don't have pricing on our plans and pricing page. The reason for that is really not to be mysterious, although it certainly does add to it. It's more that when we want to hear from our community, we want to know what the value is. We've played with some pricing. We've quoted some pricing to people just to see their feedback and reaction. And what we learned was we don't know it. We don't have enough information yet. We have an idea at the enterprise level. It's much easier. It was easier to price because we know how much it costs every time somebody picks up the phone. So we know what our value is, and then we know what our competitors are charging. But the WordPress, especially the WordPress community, is an interesting pricing beast because we need to be weaned off this unlimited thing.
Yeah.
And how do we do that? And also at the same time respecting that a lot of developers and freelancers base their current pricing model to end users on the fact that their backup buddy license is unlimited. And then along comes Sidekick, which is we're not going to allow for an unlimited license. It's going to be a fair pricing and usage-based pricing, but it's certainly not going to be the all-you-can-eat for $200 a year deal, because we're a SaaS platform and we're constantly improving, and we need to fund that. And nobody should be embarrassed or ashamed to say that. So yeah, we'll put our pricing up when we're confident, when we're ready. You should see the whiteboards that we've filled for the last year trying to figure out what that'll be. We started with a credit system. It was complicated, but you just, and that's where you start. And for if anyone's having that anxiety now with pricing, it's normal. Enjoy it, immerse yourself in it, and everybody else is going through it. That helps.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like we're going through the same thing. We're doing closed beta right now. It's actually sort of a more private closed beta where we're just reaching out to people to have them test the plugin. We're doing the same thing. It's like, do we do, support credit tokens? Like you can use it unlimitedly on any domain, but you can't ask for support on unlimited domains. There's all kinds of different things, and I think it's really just going to come down to, at least for us, is like you, is just getting more data and just getting more understanding from talking to customers. How are you doing that right now? Are you just, is it technical, or is it more just get on the phone and collect data by talking to them?
I think it's both. I love speaking to our customers. I love speaking to the WordPress community. If anyone in the WordPress community wants to send me an email question, I'm happy to share whatever experience I've got. And that's what we're doing. So on that end, whenever someone engages with me, I'll typically respond to you with whatever your question is. And by the way, if I were to tell you the price was this, what would you say? And I'll just throw random pricing. And I've gotten yelled at. I had one gentleman last week told me I was insane, and he wouldn't. And I was just trying to, so that there's that risk, is that he, I gave him I gave him a very high price just to see what the reaction would be. And I've gotten honest feedback, and on the technological side, I mean, our beta sign-up form is a little bit long, but we did it on purpose so that we can segment our users and send out. We use MailChimp and create segments and send out emails to our different, so plugin and theme developers are getting slightly different newsletters than our people that are signing up with non-WordPress or custom platform, because we know they need different things. So we're going to ask them different questions, and that's how we're managing it. We might get fewer entrants on our form because it's longer, but the ones we get are really want it.
Yeah, that's one of the tactics or strategies that I'm going to implement too on our beta sign up is just that, so we can segment, right? So we know that who the designers and developers are, who are the beginner sort of WordPress people, who are the publishers, and who are the real super elite of WordPress. That way we can do those segments. So that's great, actionable advice right there. Moving into product development, now that you're talking to people, you obviously have already shipped product version number 1. How are you managing the folks that you are working with requesting features like a WP engine, which might not fit, Matt Medeiros, who launches it for his plugin demonstration? How do you balance that?
Yeah, so obviously WP Engine is an example of one of our clients that their enterprise level. They receive a very high tier of support. They have my cell phone.
Like your cell phone number.
Yeah, no, they literally do. But at the same time, they're great. They're great guys and girls over there, and we love hearing from them because they give such honest and direct feedback. They're really all about the experience, and can't say enough good things about them. And not just because they pay me. We actually use, just so we're clear, we hosted all of our sites with them long before they became a client. So when they call and make a feature request, I get an email. And they have access to. We use Teamwork for our clients, and they actually just submit a ticket right into Teamwork, or they'll drop it right into our Pivotal. We use Pivotal Scrum. So that's how we're handling that. Whereas, if we get an email from, like Matt Medeiros right now, you can pay for an upgraded version of our core module. Those clients, they receive obviously get priority, but you'll submit a form on our site, and it'll come in, and it's not quite as direct or as quick as the feedback you would get as an enterprise client, but that's what an enterprise client pays for.
Yeah. Let's talk about just the tools that you're using for that. I noticed in the pre-interview that at one point you did use Trello. Now you're using another product called Pivotal for Scrum. I've always sort of struggled with, I don't know how to put this, like the digital way of doing Scrum. Like I know how to do it on the wall, and it's just so much easier and more tangible that way. But how does this product handle doing that Scrum project?
Yeah, so we like you said, we started with Trello. We actually started before Trello. We had something custom, which was a bad idea, and then we went to Trello. And then because for our agency side, our clients wanted something a little more professional, more direct, so we went to Teamwork. And then my developers, the engineers, came and said Teamwork's not working for us. and we don't want to go back to Trello. How about we try this Scrum thing? And I said, fine, but we need to use sticky notes and put them on the wall. And they said, well, how about we buy a 52-inch screen TV? My guys love to buy equipment. And we just project it for you, Ben. How about you just be able to look up and see where we're at? And I said, fine, as long as I can see the updates and things moving around, and I get, for those of you familiar with Scrum, I'm the product owner, so I get to do final approval on features, which is great. And so I don't care if it's digital or sticky notes on the wall or on a whiteboard, as long as we see movement. And so my guys love dragging and dropping, and it's actually great, because eventually we plan on integrating it with whatever, either Zendesk, Freshdesk, whatever it is we use, and then tickets can be dropped in directly, and we can start assigning those to engineers. So we've started ourselves on a path to really some awesome management of the Sidekick platform. So that's what we use. Pivotal. It's great. One of my engineers is actually roommates with one of the guys that works there, so we get great service, but you'll get it anyways, and that's what we recommend using.
Do you consider yourself a designer or developer at all? Same answer I would have.
How do I put this? I am prohibited from touching code.
Yeah.
I made a DNS change 2 weeks ago because I just wanted to help, and I took down the Sidekick plugin for 30 minutes, and I've now lost my credentials.
Okay. Well, I'm not that bad. So I used to be a system admin, so at least I know not to break a zone file and take down.
Yeah, I thought I did. I thought I knew enough. I know enough. I can write an href, and I can change some CSS colors, but I'm better served doing other things.
Awesome. So that said, for the folks who that haven't jumped into like Scrum or Agile yet, what's the biggest benefit at a really simplistic level for using sort of Pivotal Tracker or just Scrum or Agile in general?
It's got to be. That's a great question. Well, it's the whole idea behind velocity and understanding. So what Scrum does is it at its most basic level is it breaks your available units down into like points, and at the beginning you have to determine how many points your team can get through in a week, and so let's just say it's 10, and then it makes planning for the following week and months really easy, because if your team can get through 10 points worth of work, you drop a whole bunch of feature requests or bugs or whatever into Pivotal. And then you start adding, this will take 2 points worth of time, and this will take 3 points, and you start to get a very clear picture of, okay, well, this roadmap as we have it is going to take us 6 months. Is that acceptable? And then you can move things around. So we've been trying to, for example, a great example, real life, is we've been trying to launch this beta for like 4 months, and we couldn't understand why we thought we were moving forward when in fact we were just spinning our wheels, because we didn't have a deep understanding of what our real capacity was. And that was a scary thing, but now that we have it, it's so much easier. It's like you don't want to address it, and then when you do, life just gets better.
Yeah. 2 examples. One, again, from our own experience of launching Conductor or working on Conductor, we were just adding, we were behind closed doors, and people are going to love it. People are going to love it. It's going to be on every WordPress site ever created for the rest of our lives, right?
Yeah.
And you're adding features, and you're just refining and polishing, and then you're never shipping, you're never showing it to people. Yeah. Secondly is you just don't know what that capacity is. So I'm going to turn the table to you. How did you adequately or fairly assess what your team was capable of? So like the typical maybe manager or owner is like, well, 100 points, of course, or 1,000 points. Like, what do you mean 10? There's 1,000,000 points in a day. We can do so much. How did you fairly assess what your team was capable of to get to the demo launch, or get to the beta?
You know what? I'm very lucky to have a team that I trust. I trust highly, and I think everybody should have a great team. And there's not 5,000 of them, like you said on the top of the show. Unfortunately, there's 2 guys, both named Kyle, and then there's Bart, our CTO, and so we have 3 engineers. And when we implemented this, I said, okay, you guys go and come back to me in 2 weeks, and let's see. So I let them drive, because I trusted their judgment, and they're incredibly invested in getting out. Our whole team, to have a startup, your whole team has to be excited about it. And one of the things we're big on is making sure that I do whatever I can to help my team be successful. and in return they show a love and passion for the product. So the short answer is I trusted them to come to me and say, Ben, here it is. This is our velocity. And then as their manager, as the CEO, then I get to say things like, okay, well, I see some efficiencies could be gained here, and I start asking questions, and through those questions and answers, we're able to tweak. I'm able to get a couple more points out of them, because engineers love to sometimes over-engineer, or they love to indulge, and so they need to be managed. But I don't overmanage, and trust your team, and then at least for the first little while, and then start making small tweaks and seeing how you can help.
Yeah, I again can't agree anymore. I mean, I think, especially for the folks who are listening to the Matt Report, some folks are passionate, like WordPress agencies that have and that it's awesome, right? You can build an awesome product, you can build some awesome stuff with that. Then there are the folks who are maybe like you and I, especially those who tune into like Pat Flynn that I just had on the show, that are much more management oriented, right? Or their thing is, we're going to build a product, we're going to build a piece of software, but they might not necessarily have a team, but they're hiring people, right?
Right.
As long as so basically what I'm getting at is two different distinctions, right? There are the passionate teams, which work great, have its complexities sometimes, but it works great. And then there are those who want to go and outsource and build a team and just give out specific tasks to say, build this piece of software. Both work with a different sort of spin on it, right? So the more definite you can be, or the more systemized you can be when you go to hire somebody, you can still build a team of folks who might not be passionate for what you're after, but they're building the product that to your specifications. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly does. I think we learned very quickly that if we're going to build websites, you can use a team, you can use an outsourced team. Please don't go overseas per se, but that's another. I've done the Odesk thing. There's lots of horror stories, and unfortunately no good ones. But you can outsource to build websites, certainly, and you can bring the spec and the PSDs and say, here, build me this. As long as you trust the people that are going to do it for you. But when it comes to building a product, an ongoing product, and this is a big one, and I see this often where people say, hey, Ben, I'll meet them at meetups. I've got a great idea for a product. Do you know an engineer that I can just have build me the product? And I say, well, I do, but what are you going to do for the next version, and how are you going to iterate? And by the way, for everybody listening, this is why SaaS platforms charge per month. It's not because we're greedy. It's because our product is never finished. And we have to continuously pay awesome engineers that are much smarter than us to keep improving the product to do what you want it to do. So for that type of work, I prefer to have an in-house team. Now, in-house can mean, Foo plugins, they're a distributed in-house team. Sidekick, we're an in-house team. I mean, I like having everybody sitting around, and I'm a social guy. But as long as your engineers are dedicated to your product, that'll help you build an awesome SaaS platform. But certainly, the one-off thing doesn't work with a product like ours or what you're trying to build.
Yeah. You mentioned before SLAs, and that was super important. Why was that? What was it about the SLA? Was it something that a client came back on, an employee came back on? What was it? So you can talk about.
Yeah, so SLAs, or service level agreements, are really just ongoing maintenance agreements, and those take many, many forms. You can use awesome services like Maintain or the WP Valet. Shane and Mason are awesome guys. First and foremost, SLAs help agencies with that all-important monthly recurring revenue. It helps you stay stable. So you're not always fighting. If you can get your MRR as an agency up to 20, 25, depending on the kind of team you're trying to maintain, but if you can get your MRR up, then the pressure to go out and sell, there's no panic on the second of every month when you realize, oh my God, I only have 28 days to fill payroll again. It's nice to know that, we use Wave accounting, and it automatically sends out all our invoices on the first of the month, and I get to wake up and go, oh, we have X dollars already in revenue. That's fantastic. So that's one way SLAs are important. Another way is that managing client expectations and managing client support requests. We have a level of client and we prefer a level of client that at the end of the day is going to demand a certain level of support, and they're going to ask questions. Their sites are often mission critical. And if the site goes down, it costs them money or a lot of aggravation. And so they're willing to invest up front, and I'm not talking about retainers. They'll literally pay us an agreed amount every month. And they may never call us. They might only call us once a month. They might not call us for 2 months, but they know that because they're paying us that X $1,000, they can, when they need us, we're there. And for them, it's that safety blanket. It's that warm, comforting feeling. And for us, it helps. They're also helping us stay alive, and they know that the team that's built the site will still be around because they're helping pay the bills. SLAs can take many forms. They can cover just hosting. They can cover hosting and X number of minutes or hours per week. Our SLAs typically cover updates, major point updates for WordPress. So we'll do all the testing on staging well in advance for you. Any plugin or theme that we installed or customized for you, we take responsibility for or we warranty. So if it breaks, we fix. If you go ahead and install something on your site that we didn't install and you're just doing a little cowboy coding and it breaks, that's not covered. The SLA also defines what any out-of-scope hours will cost. So like it's clearly defined. It defines what constitutes a warranted support request, and how many minutes or hours out of scope you get. So some of our SLAs, they get 15 minutes a week. Some of our SLAs, we don't even track it because they pay us enough to. And we had one managing director of a large media company sit across the table from us and said, "What's it going to cost for me to be able to call you at 3 in the morning? Figure it out." And that was a great day for us. But also, he's called me at 3 in the morning. So, and that you just got to be prepared. And then the other thing I would caution people against is, yes, it's exciting to get that ongoing, that recurring revenue. It's awesome. It's great. But don't overextend yourself, and be honest. And as scary as that is, even if you're afraid of losing the business, be honest and upfront, because it will come back. They do remember, your clients do remember what you said, and they will come back and take you for everything you promised. So be prepared to give it.
That's a perfect segue to the next, my next concern with SLAs, especially for the folks who are listening who are just diving into this stuff, right? And they're still stuck on negotiating web contracts and just the deliverable side of it.
Right.
A lot of the stuff that they hear you talking about might be scary to them because they're like, oh my God, I gotta get a lawyer. I gotta have them draft it up. I gotta spend money on that. Like, I'm only charging $500 to make a website. Any tips or advice for those who are just starting out in this to craft an SLA, maybe even at its most simplistic form?
Sure.
With the caption, "You are not legal counsel," right?
Yes. So I am absolutely not legal counsel. I have a lawyer. He is awesome. He is a startup lawyer slash sort of web savvy guy. If anyone would like his information, I'm especially Canadian based, email me. Happy to push him on. The other thing I'll tell you, Matt, is for your listeners, and again, I am not a lawyer, but I am happy to share a template copy of our, sort of our service agreement with people, with the understanding that you need to have legal counsel review it, make sure it meets your needs. But we paid to have it drafted. Works for us. And yes, it cost us $1,000 to have it drafted, but it's been worth it. First of all, it saves us a ton of time. It makes us look more professional. It makes everybody comfortable. We can define things in there like, we guarantee the site will work on IE11 and nothing earlier. And then, and then
that's like the most important line right there.
We started, by the way, it's about 18 months ago. It said IE9, and then IE10, and then last 6 months we said nope, IE11, and we're coming very close to saying IE just costs more.
Yeah.
But we're very clear about that. The other thing that we do, so there's that. It defines like hosting. It gives us rights to use all their stuff. But then we have the most important part of your agreement is your SOW or your statement of work. And your statement of work outlines in detail exactly what you're doing for the client, gives delivery date, and it defines your mutual relationship. So we have a master service agreement that we sign, and then and it's all subject to whatever's written on and signed on the statement of work. And then our SLA is a separate document, usually a separate SOW, aside from building the website, that just defines what's covered in the SLA, and that's an ongoing. It just says delivery ongoing. And we're very clear on that. I'm very sticky with that. I make our clients sign that separately, and they love it. I mean, ultimately, they really like it. especially if they're spending, clients who are spending $500, $1,000, even I find up to $3,000 or $4,000 might question why such detail is necessary, but those are the clients where such detail is incredibly necessary. You know, when you get up to a higher level, $20,000, $30,000, $100,000, you're typically dealing with a person where it's not their money. You know, the managing director of whatever, or the the VP of whatever you're dealing with. Not saying they don't get it, but they're also at a level where they understand the need for contracts. But you definitely want to spend the $1,000.
Yeah,
please. You know, have a lawyer look at it and build it out. And if someone refuses to sign your contract, then they're not the client for you.
Absolutely. That's, one of the requests we get all the time is how do we make more money, right, in our WordPress freelance business? I want to grow an agency, or I just want to command some more dollars for my freelance expertise, and that's like the number one thing is having number one, at least that SLA, or at least that contract that says what you're going to deliver, how you're going to deliver it, and when, and for how much. But then statements of work, the outlines, signed wireframes that maybe every step of the way or as best you can. Because number one, it's the folks who look at it say, why do I need all this detail? It's specifically because they need it the most. And then secondarily, if you start approaching bigger clients like universities or listed Fortune companies, or any just organization that is not their money, they're going to look at you and say, where's your contract? And if you don't have one, they're going to look at you and say, oh, you're just too small. You're probably not capable of doing what we need, which 90% of us probably are. We're just not prepared for it.
That's right.
I want to dig just a little bit deeper onto the statement of work, something that I know that I struggle with. How much detail do you put in your statement of work ahead of time, right, to sort of close the deal? How much of that discovery time are you putting in for your clients, or have you been putting in for your clients before they hand you the first deposit?
So that's a magic word for us, discovery. I love it. I think it might have been Chris Lemma, although it might have been you who we were talking to, who gave us some great discovery, and that is charge for it. And so how much discovery work do we do? We typically charge 20 hours in advance. If a client comes to us and says we need a website, but we have no idea, here's what we want to achieve, we have no idea what's going on, and Bart and I look at each other and we just know from our experience that it's going to require some hours, we charge a $20 down payment in advance to do discovery. And then if the client decides to move forward once we present them with the results, we give them half of that back as a credit. But if not, then we've made our, we've been paid for 20 hours and we move on. Out of the discovery phase comes a very detailed estimate, which outlines exactly, we're down to how many forms they're going to get, which each form is going to be, the template they're going to get. We use Teamwork for our estimating, and then we actually print out, we export to a PDF, so our SOW references the estimate that we create in Teamwork. If it's a site if you came to us and said, guys, here's what I need, there's probably not going to be much discovery in that, because you're a guy who knows what's going on. You might just need us to do something for you. We're just going to go straight to, we will spend the hour. We won't charge you to put up an estimate. But if it's going to be a lot of time, if the client wants to come in and have 2 meetings and have us meet with their, three VPs and whatnot, yeah, sure, we do a discovery phase, but we also tell them exactly what they're going to get at the end of that discovery phase, and that's typically wireframes, a sitemap, and a estimate. It's also, surprisingly, we were afraid of at the beginning to charge for discovery. We find that it's added quite a bit of legitimacy, and that VPs and V and C level members of a team are actually very open to the idea of doing discovery and very happy to use that as a stepping stone to get to know us. And they like the fact that we're about to put a ton of time in without a guarantee for additional work. And we respect them for that. So those are the clients you really love and you want. If you're only something, then yeah, we don't charge for that. But what we do is we certainly produce a detailed estimate, an outline of what the site will look like. You can write that right onto the SOW. We prefer to use Teamwork to export it as a PDF.
Yeah. Again, couldn't agree anymore. In the case of our agency work, when we do, same thing. We charge for discovery. We didn't in the beginning. There's always you won't even talk to people. No, of course. There's always sort of, you spend that hour you start talking to people and say, look, I mean, I can't give you all the answers. You've gave me a 4, recently I just got a 4 bullet point outline and said, please give me a budget with this. And I'm like, where are your wireframes? What are your design examples? What are your intentions? Where do these forms go when people sign up? Well, we haven't really figured that out yet. Well, okay, you need to figure that part out, and either your team needs to spend time figuring that out, and then literally, if you want to send it to us in Microsoft Paint, fine, I'll assess it and figure it out. Otherwise, we're going to need to set a team and explore this and discover this. If you're going to build a house, everybody loves to use the house reference, and you're just looking at a plot of land, somebody needs to go in and survey it to figure out where the water drains, what trees you can clear out, where are the gas lines. Like, you have to figure all this stuff out. So that's awesome, and definitely charge for your discovery. If you're afraid to, just charge for the 1 hour, right? If you're still in the $1,500, $500, $1,500 range, charge an hour's worth of work. And tell them that you need to kind of plot it out a little bit first. Then before you know it, you'll be getting the $2,500 discovery things. And don't forget, a lot of people are like, oh my God, they're paying me for nothing. I'm just going to go ahead and do research. No, you're going to build something tangible. You're going to put a report together. It's going to have some wireframes, and then that's valuable to them, right? That's what consultants exist for. These clients could be hiring consultants to do this work to find people like us, whereas we're just going to do it for you. One last question on the formal interview, back to products, back to Sidekick.
Sure.
Sidekick is not just WordPress, and I'd imagine you are also looking for web applications, eventually probably mobile apps. Why go beyond WordPress? Why go into other spaces?
That's a good question. I mean, I think one of the answers is obviously success and revenue. There's a lot. One of the things we learned in the last 3 days was, or didn't learn, but sort of had it dawn, was just how many SaaS platforms and how many different platforms there are out there. And 70 to 80% of the requests we got as a result of our ranking on Product Hunt were from non-WordPress-based platforms. There are still people not using WordPress. I don't know why, but that's the truth. And so JavaScript, Ruby, Backbone. I had one guy who dropped into the questions and comments box. He just wrote Drupal with a question mark and a smiley face. So we sent him a quote on building a WordPress website. But I'm kidding. But why not just WordPress? Because Sidekick can be so much more. And really, we truly believe we're drinking our own Kool-Aid. We truly believe that it's the next generation of onboarding and support. It's an awesome way. It's how everybody should be learning to use platforms. It's far more efficient. It's far more user-friendly. It'll save companies tons of time and money. It improves your user experience. Why should it just be limited to WordPress? Eventually, everybody will be WordPress, but until then, it works with everything. So why not?
It's amazing to see that properties like Product Hunt, producthunt.com, which is a daily listing of new and exciting, I guess, web products or internet products or startups, things like that. It's amazing to see that as much as we all love WordPress, as much as widely adopted as WordPress is, to be featured on Product Hunt and 80% of them be non-WordPress. It's just still like, God, is anybody listening to this show? Like there are WordPress startups out there, people who are doing great, successful and running great businesses with it. Yeah. I'd imagine that early on, folks, and maybe even in the accelerator program, folks are saying, hey, look, you should really focus on the World Wide Web and not just WordPress.
Yeah, we got. First of all, most of these companies have WordPress-based websites. It's just their platforms aren't WordPress yet, and WordPress as a platform for app building is really just coming into it. I mean, it's so exciting to see what guys like AppPresser have managed to do, and it's coming, but it's not quite there yet. Our advisors, even our advisors in the WordPress world, said to us very early on, "Hey guys, this is bigger than you could than you're thinking, and you should probably focus on making it platform agnostic." And we did. We retooled. Sidekick can now be dropped into any any web-based platform, as long as it's not Flash, using 3 lines of JavaScript. and that's what we've written. The beta will focus on WordPress just because that's the sandbox we decided to put in, but we are very quickly going to start working with a engine. Their portal is Ruby. Their portal is not WordPress based, and it's a proof so far that Sidekick works incredibly well outside of WordPress, and we're so proud of that. And as soon as our beta starts humming along, we're going to refine the process of dropping Sidekick into those Ruby and JavaScript based platforms, and probably inviting a small group of early adopters to come and try it out. A stripped down, not quite as intensive as what WP Engine has, but probably a more stripped down version. Just to play with it and see it work. Things would probably go a lot faster. But the WordPress market is awesome, but there are, why would we give up all that? There's so much opportunity out there that it's worth us sort of splitting our focus a little bit in the beginning. And it's frustrating. I mean, we know we could be going faster. As a startup CEO, I want all the things and I want them right now. But patience pays off, and so we're going to go slowly as quickly as we can.
It's amazing stuff. I can't agree any more on that. It's definitely a smart strategy, and we've seen it before with Clay Collins and Lead Pages, sort of starting out as a plugin or maybe even a theme, and then taking it even further and getting $5 million in investment. We see it with StudioPress and all the SaaS products that they have, especially their latest Rainmaker. And we see it countless times. And I think, hey, until the adoption of WordPress as an app platform, more so than it is now, we'll continue to see this sort of more widespread. And maybe there is even more. Maybe there's more apps out there that are using WordPress that people aren't even talking about, right? Maybe they're just not saying it's built on WordPress. Who knows? But if you are one, I'd love to talk to you. I'm going to jump into the second segment of the show. Oh, excuse me, I have to ask one more question.
Sure.
You are launching or already launched a business entrepreneurial meetup of sorts. East Meets Press. Let's talk about that real quick.
So East Meets Press was an idea. It's really simple. Brad Williams sent out a tweet and said, "How come the West Coast gets all the good meetups?" Cabo Press and all that stuff. And I said, "Well, let's do one." So it's very basic. I mean, the idea is 15 or so WordPress or just web-based entrepreneurs. We've rented a really awesome beach house in North Carolina. It's the dates are September 17th to the 21st, 22nd. It's eastmeetspress.com. It's $600, all inclusive. So your bed, your food, your drinks. All you need to do is get there. And we're really excited about it. We've got some people from WP Engine coming up. We've got Brad Williams from Web Dev Studios is coming. I'm coming. My business partner Bart is coming with, and some other awesome people. So we have I think there's a few tickets left. Please come join us. We know that it's tough because there's so much happening. WordCamp Europe is going on, and I think Kiko Doran just announced another one in October, and we've got WordCamp San Francisco. But really, I mean, when else will you ever get a chance to sit on the beach, do some work, have lunch and dinner and breakfast with some really awesome folks, and then and at the same time get some work done. It's a very loose. There are no seminars or no sessions. It's come and relax, sit on the patio, have some great conversations, and the only scheduled times are meal times. And we'll have some cool lightning talks going on for that. So if you have any questions, Ben at sidekick.pro, we'll hook you up.
Yeah, definitely sounds awesome. I'll be away on vacation at that point, unfortunately. But I'd love to join next year. I will be going to Prestige Conf, which is put on by Kiko and a bunch of other folks.
That's what that is.
In October, so that'll be fun. But I think it's a new wave, right? I think what we're all sort of seeing is when you go to these WordCamps, like WordCamps are the most, $40, right, to go to New York.
Oh yeah.
Of course, besides staying in New York, which is
$500,
1,000 times that. It's the value of the session. Like I talked to people there, like I can't believe I was able to meet all these people and ask them these questions, and then there's the sessions that you can learn even more about stuff. I think this is the new wave, right? Is being able to go to these sort of meetups, enjoy yourself, have fun. You're still doing work, right? So your accountant is still happy about that. You can still sort of use this as a tax incentive. but it's just a different flow of things, and this industry allows us to do stuff like this, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Second segment of the show, I think we covered most of it, but what other apps do you use on a daily basis that keep your business going? I like the stuff you talked about, but maybe something else you haven't mentioned yet.
So we use Wave Accounting. Wave Accounting is a free piece of online bookkeeping. It's cloud-based bookkeeping. It's like an alternative to QuickBooks. We use them. They handle our payroll. Thanks. They're great. And they happen to be a Toronto-based startup, which we love. But they're fantastic, especially if you don't like QuickBooks. Yeah. So they're awesome. We use HipChat. We're big on HipChat, and we've looked at some of the other ones, Hall, and there's one other, Spoke or something. But we like HipChat. It's great. We use it. I really love the feature where it sort of tracks what's been talked about all week. So we do a weekly roundup of all the cool stuff that we've been talking about internally and post it on Sidekick.pro's blog, and that really helps. But also just you need that internal communication piece. We use Google Apps for pretty much everything else. So Gmail, Google Docs. They recently introduced unlimited cloud-based storage, which is phenomenal. Yeah. So as a business owner, I love it. If something, heaven forbid, should ever happen to a staff member or a computer, everything is stored. We use Apple for everything. I don't know what else. I mean, we use Pivotal is great. Not to say Trello wasn't awesome. It's just Pivotal is a much more it's a far superior, we find.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely take a look at that. That looks pretty interesting.
And then Teamwork.com for managing client projects. We're not Basecamp people. We decided it didn't work for us, but so Teamwork is what works for us, and they're really great. And funny about them is that the platform they're built on is Cold Fusion or Cobalt or something. It's like old, but it's so responsive. It's great. You'd never know that it was built on this like ancient piece of technology, but it does such a great job.
That's awesome. I'm going to jump into the lightning round and ask you a series of quick questions. You have a series of quick answers.
Sure.
What's the one plugin you cannot live without besides your own?
Lead-in.
Ah, very good. I met those guys up in Boston. So you're having success with it?
Unbelievable. It's awesome. Lead-in is so amazing. Basically, for those who don't know, anytime somebody fills out a form on your site, Lead-in will send you a report. It'll say, here's the form they filled out, and by the way, here's everywhere else on the site they've been, and here's how they got to you. And then it'll upload it. We use Gravity Forms, and of course, just uploads it to MailChimp, and it stores all that data. And it's huge. It's also really satisfying to see how many new leads come in every day. So it's great, and it's free right now for those. So use it.
Yeah, they're sort of in a private accelerator group of HubSpot, which is fairly popular up here in Boston. Met them at the last WordPress meetup in Boston, so they're pretty good guys. They're building something pretty awesome. What's a favorite WordPress or business book?
Favorite WordPress or business book? It's got to be The Lean Startup. I go back to that whenever I know it's a sort of a cliche answer, but I go back to that whenever I'm like, what would the Lean Startup do? If you don't know what to do, what would that do? And MVP and test and iterate and get it out.
Yeah, I just read. Went to a wedding over in Colorado, and on the flight over read the Lean Canvas by Ash Moira. That was awesome. Again, it's the fundamentals of Lean. And it's just like, why would you read another Lean book? But it just reminds you of everything, and it's just a good reminder to get back to the Lean process. What's a quote that you live or run your business by?
I really like to go quickly or rather go slowly as fast as you can. That's sort of something we developed internally, and it's become our mantra. Like, how fast can we do this without screwing it up?
Yeah. In your client services business, what's the longest a client project has ever taken?
We just launched a rip and replace of 6 websites for a paving stone client. They had 6 websites on Cold Fusion. It just launched. It's about 8 months.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
If you had to switch to another CMS, what would it be?
I wouldn't. If I had to switch to another CMS, I'd probably do some modified flavor of Drupal.
Nice. Who should I interview next?
The guys from Lead-In.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that these guys probably see some really amazing metrics about WordPress businesses and probably have some great stuff they could share.
Yeah, definitely. And what's the one question I didn't ask you that I should have?
What's the one question? You know, honestly, I don't know. I think that's the best. What's the best thing that's come out of running my own business, and that's got to be. Sorry, did you want me to answer it too?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and answer it.
And the greatest thing that's come out of this is really sort of a renewed belief in myself and what you can accomplish when you really what I can accomplish when I put my mind to it. I worked for somebody else for 10 years. I worked in the marketing business, and you really do. The agency world it grinds you down. And I learned how I didn't want to run a business, and I always said, when I run my own business and when I have my own shop, I will do this and I will not do that. And now that I'm doing it, it was tough in the beginning, but man, does it, on good days and bad, it feels so good to come into the office and be like, this is mine and I built this.
Yeah. Did you ever find yourself sort of falling into those pitfalls that you said you wouldn't do, and then kind of realize like, oh, that's why?
Oh yeah, I sent I've done that, and you know what? This is where having a team that really trusts you and that you trust is critical, because my team, on a couple of occasions, guys have either come to me as a group or individually and said, Ben, that thing you did or that thing you said, that wasn't so cool, or maybe we want to try it a different way. And because we have that trust, that team member was felt that they were able to say that, and I was receptive to it. And sometimes the answer is nope, we've got to do it the way I said, but oftentimes it's okay, let's find a new way so that everybody's happy.
Yeah, that's one thing I learned. I did work for a technology company for about 7 years, and the reason why I worked there that long is so I could learn what not to do. And it was very interesting, a very interesting experience, especially with like partnerships and things like that. And I definitely learned the same way. I'd be looking at it every day. I'd be like, this is what I'm not going to do when I run my business.
Yes.
And then there are those times where I was like, oh, okay, so now I understand things like cash flow and hiring people, and some of those things are unavoidable as much as you say you're not going to do it.
Yeah, but you know what I find is that in those situations, honesty and sort of as transparent as you can be with your team, especially as a small startup. We share our revenue privately and internally. We share our revenue, we share our profit. We do quarterly bonuses we do them. We do quarterly bonuses whenever we can. So, as long as there's a profit to share, we share it. Because that engenders trust, and everybody knows what you're working for. And at any time, if someone says, you know what, I just need to make more money, or I don't really believe that we're going, then they can go, okay, they can make an informed decision, and it doesn't draw out this long process where somebody takes 6 months to leave, and then there's that bad blood. And nope, I mean, everybody's just happy because you were honest and open with them.
Yeah, definitely. It's awesome stuff. Ben, it's been an amazing hour discussion on everything that you've done. I definitely want to get you back once every web app is using your platform.
Yes.
And maybe the background will be on your yacht somewhere off the coast of some island. Ben, where can folks find you on the web to say thanks?
At Benjamin E. Fox on Twitter, sidekick.pro/beta. If they'd like to sign up for our beta, please come join us. We're on the 8th, which is Friday, or Ben at sidekick.pro. Send me an email. Please excuse me if it takes a couple days to get back to you at this point, but happy to share whatever I can with the community.
That's awesome. And then East Meets Press, still a few tickets left. Folks can reach out and get connected with that if they want to do that awesome vacation/workation setup down there. That'll be an awesome time. Folks, if you want to stay connected to the Matt Report, mattreport.com/subscribe, join the mailing list. That's the #1 way. You'll know when these awesome interviews go out with some other insider information. mattreport.com/join, join the members list, members-only forum, and access to premium content and featured content from some of our guests. So again, mattreport.com/join. Thanks, everybody.